just need my space right now.
Fresh off the G5 jet, I'm on my way to a brand new kit.
Hello, welcome back. eSIM Studios podcast live stream, episode number 222. Apologize for the inconsistencies there at the very beginning. Allergies are kicking my ass today. If we get a number of people in here, we will do a giveaway. I'm going to do an Amazon gift card. I'm reaching out to these case companies just to verify that I can give these away. I know I got approval earlier, but you know how it is with the giveaways and stuff. You just always got to double check. So we'll do an Amazon gift card if I get a fair number of people in here. It is going to be a rather quick episode, under 30 minutes. I have to go to I'm gonna take my daughter to a pumpkin patch festival thing up by Austin, so I'm kind of up against it with time. However, good little family time, but I'm taking a bunch of my devices. I'm gonna take a shitload of photos and videos, so I'll be able to have a phone in each pocket. So I'm gonna be able to I'm gonna create something out of it, maybe a comparison video, or I'm gonna throw something together and we'll see. Should be good timing. Should be evening. We'll get some daylight. We'll get some nighttime shots. So I'm gonna go test a bunch of phones here in a minute. But I got two stories. Daniel, appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much for joining me today. I know I replied back with all my different. Did it show up? What did it show up in the comments? Oh, okay. I'm good. Yeah, so I got two stories. One very interesting I just came across this morning. It was like, what? What's going on? We're going to go, and I'm probably going to go pick up the Samsung Galaxy Book 4 Edge probably tomorrow. I don't have time today. Long day today, so didn't have time to go pick it up today, but there is a Best Buy somewhere in town that's got that, so I'm gonna go pick that up tomorrow. So we'll have a fun day tomorrow with the new X Elite machine, and but let's get to it. So check this out. We've been talking a lot about the Air, so two stories. iPhone 17 Air, big details. And then I have a TSMC story that could change the outcome as we know it for cell phones in the United States. I mean, across the board. Apple, Samsung, Samsung, Google. Could be a potential disaster with TSMC and the U.S. government with what's brewing up. So that we're going to keep that one at bay. But let me show you what I'm talking about here. Let me launch my screen share. Where am I? Okay, so we got some new news here. Let me make sure. Let me move myself so I'll make it bigger. Hang on. Okay, sorry about that. And we got a photo. So there's been a bunch of just generic photos around about the 17 Air. And again, I'm going to make this brief. And if you're unaware, this phone is shaping out to be a little different than what I originally thought. I thought it was, there's a different, nobody knows exactly what it's going to look like as we get closer to launch date. It was given the green light and they are manufacturing it. So as we get closer, we'll know kind of what it looks like and all that good stuff. And I have a picture of what we think it's going to look like, which is different from what we've had in the past. So you're going to want to stay tuned for to see that in here in just a second. Now, let's see here. iPhone 17 Air. So check this out. So here's the new rumors on this new iPhone 17 Air. Now, as you know, it's taking the Air name from the MacBook Air. What's a MacBook Air compared to a MacBook Pro? A MacBook Air is more of a thin, light, easy portability. thin air, right? Thin as air. So this new iPhone 17 Air is going to replace the Plus model. So no more Plus model. So they'll have the 17, 17 Air, 17 Pro, 17 Pro Max. Now this Air model, as you can tell on here on the screen, is going to be razor thin, 3.5 millimeters thick, 4 millimeters thick, whatever it is. It's going to be razor thin, literally half the thickness of whatever phone you have in your pocket right now. There's been some super thin phones. Dan, you might know too. I think the thinnest phone, I was gonna say my Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 6, pretty thin, but it's not 4 millimeters thin. I think the thinnest phone I've ever had, and we brought it up yesterday, was the Moto Z3. I know the Z3 or Z4 was very thin, but this new 17 Air will be even thinner than that. I think that was 6 millimeters thick, maybe 7. This is going to be 4. Like, this will be paper thin, which is going to be cool, but I can't wait to see what jerry rig everything is going to do with. You wonder how it's going to perform in the bend test, right? With a device so thin. Anyways, we got some information. So it appears we have some conflicting rumors about the design for this device. Most sources agree that it's going to have basically a 6.6 inch display, which is interesting. It's big enough. It'll fall right in between the Pro model, right? The Pro 17 Pro should be a carryover from this year. So the 16 Pro is a 6.3 inch display. 17 Pro should be a 6.3 inch display. The Pro Max is a 6.9 this year. Next year is going to be a 6.9. So the 6.6 will fall right in between. Now, the perfect size, in my opinion, the perfect screen size is 6.7. So this 6.6, right around the perfect size. It's big enough to have a big display, small enough to use with one hand. This Pro Max is pretty freaking big. S24 Ultra, pretty freaking big. So the S24 Plus, which is maybe my favorite phone this year, it's right up there. It's a perfect size. Perfect size. In July, Apple supply chain analyst said he expects the device to have a standard A19 chip. Not the Pro model, a standard A19 chip, a dynamic island, a single rear camera. I repeat, a single rear camera, sort of what you see on the display here, on the screen here. So in the past, we thought it was going to have a bar go across the top, right? Just minus a periscope. It was going to have 2 or 3 sensors minus a periscope lens, because the periscope lenses require so much depth. It's a very thick sensor, meaning it has a lot of layers, and you this device is so thin you simply cannot fit a periscope lens in there. So we thought it was going to be two sensors, a main shooter, an ultra wide shoot, maybe put a macro in there, which nobody uses, but what the hell, they charge, these things are expensive, so give us all you can give us. But that's not the case. It looks like there's going to be one rear camera, presumably an ultra wide, which is interesting, because why would you just put one camera? This is not an iPhone SE, right? And they're going to charge an arm and a leg for this. I'm assuming that it's going to be, I don't know, $1,100, $1,200, just simply because it's going to be launched in rare form, like zero competition whatsoever. There's never been a device that has been this thin before, so it's gonna be jaw dropping. It's gonna have a lot of demand here in the industry, a lot of demand. I'm gonna try to get one, and that's saying a lot. If it gets my attention, and it's an iPhone, it's a pretty big deal. Now, 6.6 inch display, A19 chip, dynamic island, a single rear camera, and we have not discussed this, but I plan on discussing this in the future. Just had so much going on. Apple's own designed modem. So as you know, Apple's trying to manufacture every part of the iPhone, right? I doubt they're going to get into display manufacturing. That's a huge investment in itself. And we don't know what they're paying per it may be more cost effective to just buy your displays from BOE or Samsung, right? Like the investment it's going to cost to create your own displays, manufacturing plants, it would be huge. So it may just be more cost effective to buy displays from third party. But one thing, and look, in the speakers in there are not Apple made. The vibration motor, probably not Apple made. So they do have suppliers, but they're trying over time to manufacture as many parts as they can, right? That's feasible. That makes sense for them as possible. The modem is another thing. So Apple has been designing this new modem. A modem, for those of y'all that don't know, is a component in your device, your phone, your tablet, what have you, that communicates with carrier services or network services. So it's what handles the data from your cell phone carrier. It's what handles the frequencies from your Wi-Fi router, right? Or when you plug in your phone to an Ethernet cable, that's what handles all of the connected networks, right? So Apple has had a contract with Qualcomm. And Qualcomm has been a long-standing partner with them, with Apple. But this upcoming year for the iPhone 17 series is the very first year Apple is going to kick. I think at the end of this year is when the contract is up with Apple and Qualcomm for the modem specifically. And Apple's been designing. This has been a very, very, very tough and long road to design and manufacture their own modem. But not just that, but have it perform. Right? You don't want to make your own modem and then you get 50% less network, right? Performance, right? Nobody wants that. So they have to make sure it meets their expectations. Apple's been working on a modem for 7-8 years, and they could just never get it right. It appears. I've seen this report a couple weeks ago, so it looks like they finally have their Apple own designed modems up and running. So this will encompass their new Apple designed 5G modem. Now, there's analyst Jeff Poo who agrees that the iPhone 17 Model Air will have a 6.6-inch display, an A19 CPU. It's going to be on the 3 nanometer process that's used, same foundation that's used on the A18 Pro chip you see in the 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max. He expects the device to feature an all aluminum frame. Now, this is very, very risky. As I mentioned, Jerry Rig Everything, who does his bend test, who does his screen test, how well it'll resist scratches. He takes it through the whole rigmarole, right? Just destroys him at the end to see how much damage they can take. The 15 Pro Max failed the bend test, not this year, last year. Apple redesigned the frame of the 16 series. And when Jerry Rig Everything did the bend test on the 16 Pro Max, it held up wonderfully. Not a crack, not a bend. It barely flexed. Now, they reinforced that. Obviously, the Pro models have titanium in them, right? That's titanium silver, titanium, whatever the hell else they call it. The colors, well, it's made of titanium. Now, it's the border or the frame, so not the entire phone. But making a phone all aluminum, very, very risky. You know what also is aluminum? A Coke can. You know how easy it is to squish a Coke can? Yeah. If this is all aluminum, I do not expect it to pass Jerry Rig Everything test, meaning when he bends it like this, he'll take the phone and push on the inside out. He'll do the same thing here. Push inside out. I guarantee you this is going to fail it. Now, there was a bit of a bend gate. I'm not sure if those of you that remember the iPhone 6. Do you all remember the iPhone 6? I think it was the 6S. They had a major, major issue with bent phones. People who put them in their back pocket and then would go to sit down in their car, sit down on their phone, They probably had, I don't know, I'm not going to say millions, but it was a ginormous issue. You can Google it, iPhone 6 bend gate or bending or whatever. You'll see a ton of content. Now they reworked the frame and how they actually in the materials, the metals that they put in the mid frame and the frame of the device, and it was not really an issue moving forward. But guess what? The iPhone 6 that had that bend problem, that would bend real easy, guess what? All aluminum. So aluminum is is nice to use in certain applications when you need it, because it's very lightweight and it is metal, right? It gives you the strength of metal, relative strength, but it's very lightweight. So I don't know how this is going to develop, but we will keep an eye on this. So as well as an aluminum frame, it's going to have Face ID. It's going to have a single 48 megapixel rear camera, a 24 megapixel front facing camera, 8 gigs of RAM for Apple Intelligence. So it'd be interesting to see how this plays out. From here on out, it looks like it's just getting one camera. So we'll have to see how it goes, right? But keep an eye on this. I will keep an eye on this for you. If your eyes stray, I'm going to keep an eye on this. I think this is there's 2 devices that Apple's going to come out with that I think we all need to keep our eyes on to see how it goes, because Apple's putting themselves out there, right? They've been so boring for so long with their devices. 2 devices that they're really putting their neck out for. So this phone, iPhone 17 Air, right? It's going to be unlike anything they've ever done. And the iPhone 18 Flip, or they'll probably just call it iPhone Flip. I don't know. Maybe Samsung has patented that name for a phone, so maybe they'll have to come up with something else, iPhone Flex or whatever. They're making a flip phone just like Samsung has their Flip. So those 2 devices, I'm going to keep a very, very close eye on. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. So you get all updates. You get notified whenever new content comes out. I'm going to plan on getting this Air. So next year I'm not going to get the Pro Max. I'm just going to get this Air. We don't know about refresh rate, right? The screen refresh rate on here, since it's not a Pro or a Pro Max, Lord have mercy. If Apple puts 60 hertz refresh rate on this phone, my little experiment with Apple, meaning I've got my first iPhone I've had in like years, maybe short-lived, because I can't. It really bothers me coming from an Android person. So I got my Android 15 shirt on today. It really bothers me from an Android person using a device that does not have high refresh rate. I can get a $199 Android device with 120 hertz refresh rate. Apple's charging an arm and a leg for these devices. For them not to, if they put 60 hertz on this, I may just be done with Apple. You have to wait and see. And same thing with the Flip, right? iPhone Flip. Boy, they better put a high refresh rate on these devices, because that is insane. So this is likely to come out in September of 2025. So basically this time next year, whenever the next year's iPhones release. Now, so there's another story here. As you know, here in eSIM Studios, we keep a very, very close eye and pay attention to not only cell phones, computers, right, technology in a whole, and we also keep, or at least I do, keep a close eye in as far as what's going on in the CPU world, right? Not a huge computer channel per se, but we do a little bit of everything, right? We mainly focus on mobile devices, phones, but we have unboxings and reviews of laptops, how to install RAM in a computer. We do stories in regards to CPUs and what could dramatically impact the industry, right? So I came across a new story that everybody needs to be aware of. Now, we'll get into how likely this might be, but I'm not sure how likely this could happen, but it is happening. At least the process, the probing, so to speak, has begun. Now, if this plays out and if this goes through, it could mean this would be the most drastic ruling, most drastic change in the cell phone world in history. So what am I talking about? Well, TSMC, the maker, the world-renowned maker, they're not just a maker of CPUs. They are literally the best in the world at what they do. They're the Michael Jordans of CPU manufacturing. They manufacture Apple's CPUs for the M series chips for their MacBooks and iPads, and for the Bionic chips for the iPhone, all of them. They also manufacture Qualcomm Snapdragon chips that power majority Android devices, millions upon millions. They're also producing MediaTek. MediaTek stepped up their game in the CPU world and is on the incline as far as what their company's doing. Also power millions of devices. And then last but not least, among a few others, Google. So Google's using TSMC this upcoming year to manufacture CPUs for their Pixel devices. Much anticipated. But what if I said that all came to a stop? What if I said all chip making came to a screeching halt? What do you think would happen? Well, that could be a possibility, because check this out. Check this out. Let me share my screen. So, the United States government is investigating TSMC over secret Huawei deals. TSMC does not confirm or deny the allegations. So, here's what's going on, and we'll get out of here. When Trump was in office, they put sanctions on Huawei. Huawei is a Chinese company. They manufacture mobile electronics, phones, tablets, what have you, hotspots, electronics, right? Now, Huawei was found to be spying on the U.S. government, the U.S. people, U.S. tech-based companies, literally stealing secret files, stealing patent ideas, literally hacking into other companies. Huawei went so far and so deep into spying. They took basically CIA and Mossad and Chinese spy tactics. So they actually had Huawei people go get a job at Samsung, go get a job at Apple, go get a job at Google, a bunch of these tech companies. And they would work, and this is over a few years, would work their way up in the company and send sensitive information back to Huawei, just like they do in any other country that you have spies in. U.S. found out. U.S. put them on sanctions and said, no company, they said, here's what the U.S. government said, we're not doing business with Huawei, and they cannot do business with us. You cannot sell products here. Nobody that's American is allowed to do business with you, with Huawei. And if you do, big time trouble. Big time trouble, like jail time trouble. So nobody's touching Huawei. Now, also in those sanctions, the U.S. will not do business of any form, any way, shape, or form, if you do business with Huawei. Meaning, if I'm the U.S. and Huawei is over here to the right, and you are Samsung. So I, as the U.S. government, could not do business with you, Samsung, if you, Samsung, were doing business with Huawei. See what I'm saying? So, it's not only the government the U.S. government's not going to do business with Huawei. The U.S. government, will not allow, it's federally against the law, for us to do business with you because you do business with Huawei. You see how that works? We don't want any attachment to Huawei whatsoever. Literally nothing. We want to put them on an island. We're not even going to mess with you if you talk to them. So now that we have that foundation and groundwork laid out, that's basically what's happening in this situation. So it appears Huawei has been doing business with TSMC. Now, not directly, because that would be a blatant violation of U.S. law. So what they're doing is it appears Huawei is doing business with TSMC through a third party. So as I mentioned, TSMC, it makes it bar none the best CPUs, the best chips in the world. And it's not even close. It's not even close. It would be like Michael Jordan, who is TSMC, or Patrick Mahomes, who's TSMC, going up against Muggsy Bogues or Jay Cutler in the NFL versus Mahomes. Like, they're in the same. If you produce chips or you play football, you're in the same league. But the talent, their production is just not even comparable. Now, here's the big issue. So if Huawei is secretly going through a third-party company because Huawei wants their chips made by TSMC, right? They're a company that is trying to make the very best products it can. Now, if you have to have CPUs, are you going to try to go get CPUs from Samsung, who's really been struggling? Or are you going to try to go get CPUs made by TSMC? I'm going to go with TSMC. So they know they can't do it directly. So what they're doing is I don't know about hiring. They're doing business. They're breaking them off. They're having a third-party company place orders for Huawei for CPUs. And that third-party company is paying TSMC. TSMC is manufacturing those CPUs and sending them to the third-party company. And then the third-party company is sending those CPUs to Huawei. And technically, if that's the case, and the government finds out, which I think they know what's going on, and that's why they're probing, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire. But if we follow the letter of the law, that means the U.S. has to stop doing business with TSMC. That means no more Apple CPUs. That means no more Google Tensor CPUs. That means no more Qualcomm CPUs. No more MediaTek CPUs. And that $22 billion chip manufacturing plant that TSMC is almost done building in Arizona. No more Arizona TSMC plant. If the government finds TSMC's involvement is true, it could mean this would be the biggest disruption in the mobile industry as a whole, maybe ever. Now, do I think a probe into TSMC would lead to that? So let's think of outcomes. So we just discussed the worst outcome possible, right? America saying, sorry, TSMC, we can't do business with you because you're doing business with Huawei. That means Apple, no more iPhone. Well, they would produce an iPhone, but it would suck. Pixel, Samsung uses MediaTek and Qualcomm. So as you can tell, like it would be a disaster. Now, I don't see this happening, honestly. Now, could the U.S. fine TSMC? That's probably what's going to happen if they're found guilty. I have no idea. I don't know who's to blame. And also, what's their involvement? Does TSMC know that these chips that they're producing are going to Huawei? Or is there a paper trail, right? How much do they know? Are they in the blind? Do they just think this third-party company is giving them money, TSMC is giving them chips, and that's it? Or do they know that there's a back channel to Huawei? If the government finds in this investigation finds out that TSMC is knowingly producing chips for this third-party company, knowing that they are going to eventually go back to Huawei, and that money that they're receiving is from Huawei via the third party, you will see penalty. You can't not let this go without penalty. Now, do I think they're going to follow through and cut ties with TSMC? I do not. I think that would be a complete disaster. You have multi-trillion-dollar companies, Apple, Google, Samsung, Qualcomm, billion-dollar company, MediaTek, billion-dollar company. It would disrupt the trickle-down effect. It would come down to me and you, because that would mean the devices we get in the future would suck, and they would probably be more expensive. So it would be in the best interest that the relationship between the United States government, the United States companies, and TSMC, it would be in the best interest that we still do business. I just think if they're found guilty, you're probably going to see a fine, right? But technically, if you go by the letter of the law, it could happen. So I'm going to put this article, I'm going to link this article in the description box below. Once this video is done, come back to the video in a couple of minutes. eSIM Studios on YouTube, and I'll have the link there. I have to run. But a very interesting story that literally just broke last night. So you can start to think if Apple, if all the major manufacturers had to seek another chip manufacturer, disaster, absolute disaster. I mean, we're talking trillions of dollars being interrupted. Supply chains just going haywire, and not just phones. We're talking computers. We're talking AI. AI would take a 5-year hit, because these are NVIDIA is not the only one producing AI chips. TSMC is a huge manufacturer for AI specific chips. If that connection got severed, it would disrupt the industry for maybe 5 to 7 years, because they are so far in advance with their technology and their chip making. There was a report that came out last week. A technology analyst said that the other chip makers are 5 to 7 years behind TSMC, meaning if TSMC stopped today, it would take all the other chip makers, and there's not a lot, but there's a handful, they're just not as good. It would take them 5 to 7 years just to get where we're at right now with TSMC in their chip making abilities and technology. That would be a disaster for the tech world. Not just cell phones, everything. Chips for your cars, automobiles, chips get made via TSMC. AI models, right? Gemini, ChatGPT, all of them are using chips manufactured by TSMC. So it would literally put a freeze on the tech world for 5 to 7 years. And that's not good. That's not good. So you can just, I mean, all it takes is a few minutes and thinking of how this trickle-down effect would touch every industry, every single industry. They make chips for stuff you don't even think of, right? Eye scanning software, home security stuff. I mean, all these chips are made there. They don't just produce CPUs for phones, even though that's probably their biggest, the biggest item as far as production that goes out the door for TSMC. They produce chips for everything. So I think if this gets if this goes left, not just me or you, everybody's going to be in trouble. And I think cooler heads will prevail, and I think governments, whoever the next president is going to have to step in, honestly. And if they're found guilty of wrongdoing, they cannot sever ties, right? Just fine. If they're found guilty, if they know that the money's coming from Huawei, if they know the chips are going back to Huawei, just give them a fine and move forward, please. It would destroy the tech industry if we had to sever ties with TSMC. Destroy the tech industry. So, anyways, I gotta run, but you can check out this article. It's very, very cool. I sourced some of my information among some other articles, but it just broke last night. So, trust me, you're gonna want to stay on track and stay up to basis with this story. So, I gotta run. How many? Do we got more than a couple of people? All right, so check this out. Since we only got a few people, I'm going to push back my giveaway until tomorrow. If we get more than a few people in the chat, we will do a giveaway tomorrow. We'll do an Amazon gift card probably tomorrow. So eSIM Studios podcast on YouTube. You have to enter there, watch it there to enter. And we'll do that. So I got to run. I got a lot of pictures to take. We're going to go to this pumpkin patch festival thing, and I'm going to have a phone in each pocket. So I'm going to get some good camera. I got all my phones plugged in, so all of them are fully charged, but make some content out of that. So you'll probably see some videos, some shorts, some comparison stuff here in the next few days from this afternoon. But and then I'll probably pick up the Galaxy Book 4 Edge tomorrow, I believe. I just don't have time today, but they still have them in stock. So appreciate the time. Thank you very much. Please have a safe and enjoyable Saturday afternoon. I know I will, knock on wood. Yes, we will be very safe and enjoy it. But we will see you tomorrow. Giveaway tomorrow on Sunday. Don't know when I'm going to schedule it, but stay tuned and you will find out. Peace out, guys. Thank you.